Bear, do you have your WIAA football champions predicted and picked out already?
I'm through Division 4. I've got 3 left, and I'm a little worried about Division 7 because I don't know where half the schools are even at. And
Just pick a Leva Strum.
I think I may go with Bangor.
Oh, Bangor.
Bangor, yeah, which is where I
Maine, I thought,
yeah,
but I
Bangor,
guess it's in
Maine.
Wisconsin.
They let them play in Wisconsin in the state playoffs, which doesn't seem fair, but it's a long trip for those kids. But good experience for
Well,
them.
if they got a chance to win a title, then it'll all be worth it.
It will, but fun time of year.
By the time that people are watching this, I'm assuming you're gonna have all your picks made.
I will have all my picks made, and I was 4 of 7 last year, and 2 of the 3 I got wrong were in the state championship game, so not bad.
Oh,
not bad.
It must mean you picked all chalk.
I probably did, yes. You could go Kimberly every year and be right.
You should be pretty safe.
Yes.
Well, you can see Bear's picks for the championships in Thursdays.
Thursdays, football weekend.
It's football weekend. And we'll break down some of the area teams in the playoffs, talk volleyball, football, soccer, and we'll get to some Badgers and Packers as well. But we got all these brackets to go through.
We do.
So
we got brackets.
Stick around for this episode of Extra Points. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's Gazette's Extra Points show. John Barry to my left. I'm Eric Schmaltz. We're here every week, and at least like 3 or 4 of you are with us here too. And every once in a while, a couple other people join.
Oh,
6, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Hopefully, you tell all your friends about the show here because we got a big one for you this week.
We
gotta
do.
get through some postseason
Could
brackets
be award-winning.
here. We got
award-winning show.
a lot of brackets going on. It's that time of year in the fall. Sports season for the WIAA really kicking into gear, and I think a lot of eyes on football, even though for the 3rd time in 5 years, no Janesville team in the football playoffs.
No, the Vikes wasted their best effort of the season all for naught when
Saved
they didn't get in with 4 and 5. And people that were there said, "Where's that team been all year?" And maybe there's probably a few people on the west side wondering the same thing. But no, Craig and Parker. We thought it'd be close. We weren't sure. I thought if they got in, it'd be on the technicality as an additional qualifier. I know you thought they'd run the table, and
Neither.
Neither one happened, and it's too bad. And for the Cougars, just too much inexperience, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
No extra qualifiers this year for the first time in a while, which means everybody that's in the playoffs had at least a 500 conference record.
Right.
So
well, it's the way it should be.
Right.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with that.
It is kind of one of those different seasons, though. I mean, with every other season, basically, you get your shot to make to move on after the first round of the playoffs and to get into the playoffs, even if you didn't win a game all year.
Yeah.
But in football, you gotta
earn your way.
And I guess that's what makes it special. I mean,
it does.
You gotta prove yourself kind of throughout the year.
It's what I talked about in my column this weekend. Is if nothing else, for those teams that maybe are up and coming, it's an extra week of practice for those underclassmen, and sometimes that can make a big difference because you can work on things and know that you're going to have those kids in positions and situations the next year. And a lot of coaches will tell you that extra couple of weeks of practice that you get really pays off in the long run.
Let's go small to big for football.
All right.
I guess the big guys always get all the love. Let's start with the little guys.
All right.
And to me, Clinton in Division 5, I think, is our best chance for teams in the area to make a deep run in this.
I concur,
postseason.
and that's what I wrote about in Football Weekend. Was I think our best chance to make the trip to Camp Randall is Coach Jeff Spivak's team, and the Cougars, since losing a tough one in the opener to Evansville Albany and ended up tying them for the Rock Championship, really have just been lights out. I mean, they have just dominated everybody. They haven't had any close games. They've taken care of business. And, again, without much time to prepare for that no-huddle offense and with the way that defense is playing in Division 5, they are going to be a tough out.
And you kind of wonder going into the seeding meeting with a bunch of teams that I guess they're all kind of mixed up, so it didn't really play a factor.
Right.
We didn't have one conference dominating, but you just kind of wondered how it would shake out, and it seems like they were able to convince everybody that winning 8 in a row to end the season in a conference where you're playing against Division 3 and 4 opponents pretty much all year. They were rewarded for that. So they get the number 1 seed in their bracket, and they start off hosting Marshall on Friday night at 7 o'clock. I just think dropping down a level, I think, is big. Right?
It's huge.
You've spent the entire season playing those bigger teams, like even giving Evansville a run, and you're playing against these D4 playoff teams like Bigfoot, Broadhead Judah, and East Troy, and Jefferson. I mean, they've held their own against every one of them.
And in this case, like you said, falling down is certainly going to help Clinton, and we'll talk about it later. But a team like Badger, who made the state semifinals
Move
last year in
up.
Division II. They have to move up, which obviously Division I is a much tougher road to navigate than it would be in Division II. But no, and getting back to Clinton, I really do. I think they've got all the pieces there to make a long postseason run, and I hope they do, because for a program that for so long just really struggled in the Rock Valley South, so great to see, and it's just a matter of, like I say, kids buying into that system, Coach Spivak doing the right things and getting kids in the right position, and right now they're reaping, so to speak, the fruits of their labor.
What it's hard because we don't see any of the other teams throughout the year that are in this Division 5 bracket, but at least in their 8-team pod, it doesn't seem like they got any of the juggernauts.
No.
So that helps. But I guess, is Lancaster the toughest, the number 2 seed in that? Is that their toughest road
well,
to get into the state semifinals?
Well, I would think that, or Columbus is a team that...
Well, to the semis. This is just to make it through their 8-team pod.
I would think Lancaster, the Flying Arrows, I believe they're called, are a state powerhouse, but... I think they won it as recently as 2014, which is 2 years ago. But again, they're going to play that smash mouth, in your face power football, whereas Clinton up to the line of scrimmage and go. And if you don't have time to prepare for that, you can look at it on film, but you can't simulate that speed on the field that you're going to see. And so I think for Clinton, it's a big advantage with the offense that they run, and I think you're going to see that. And I would think Lancaster would probably be the opponent in the quarters, and then maybe unbeaten Columbus, which won the Cap North with Lake Mills and Lodi, and it's going to be interesting. But I really do like Clinton's chances to come out of there.
At least to the semifinals.
I agree. Yep.
And then you don't really know.
Yep.
At that point.
You don't know.
I think number 1 seed, you gotta like their odds.
I do.
We move up to Division 4, 3 Rock Valley teams in that little bracket there, with 5th seeded Broadhead Judah going on the road to Lodi this week, 7th seeded East Troy going to Platteville, and 8th seeded Bigfoot going to River Valley. Everybody going on the road, and they all. That was kind of I wondered how the seeding would shake out there, because all 3 of those teams finished 5-4 in the Rock Valley. They each beat each other somewhere along the line. Bigfoot beat Broadhead, Broadhead beat East Troy beat Bigfoot. So how do you seed those teams? And I think Broadhead Judah got rewarded for beating Jefferson. I guess they had the best win out of those 3 teams.
Well, and the thing is, in talking to Jim Mattias, the football coach at Broadhead Judah, who again got that program into the state tournament or the state postseason for the 25th straight year, which is a state record. That's pretty incredible. And they had to win last week at East Troy. They did. And in talking to him, you look at those 8 teams. He said it's about as balanced as you can find. He says, don't be surprised if Bigfoot goes on the road and beats number 1 seeded River Valley. He said that's how open that bracket is. And he said Lodi, certainly a great team, a good program, but he said they lost a lot of kids off of their state runner-up team from a year ago. And he said, we want to go on the road, keep it close, and give ourselves a chance in the 4th quarter. And I think they can do that. And I think when you look at those other teams, certainly River Valley with the number 1 seed's got to be the favorite. But, come playoff time, Broadhead Judah has a way of finding the magic. And, don't be surprised if they rattle off a couple of wins.
So you see at least one of those teams winning a Friday night? All 3 have to go on the road.
I really think it's going to be tough for Bigfoot. That's a long haul over to River Valley. And, Jackson Ends, as good as he is, I got to believe River Valley's a 1 seed for a reason, but I certainly could see Broadhead Judah beating Lodi, and who's the other one? East Troy and Platteville. Don't know much about Platteville.
I guess.
I wouldn't be shocked, and no, I wouldn't be shocked with any of them, and obviously wouldn't be shocked if we were out of that bracket by next week. Yeah. So we'll never, that's probably the toughest one to call. I guess I'd give a little bit of an edge to maybe Platteville, but not because I know much about them, but just because. Kind of going by what Jim Mattias said and how things shake out. But, good matchups for everybody in the Rock, and a chance to show that conference this year was pretty good.
And at least, a lot of times if you're the 8 seed going to a 1, you go in feeling like you have no chance.
Right.
And I think if you at least feel like you could make a game of it, that changes things a little bit.
And we've seen it happen before, so I hope it happens again Friday night.
Division 3, 2 Rock Valley teams and the Southern Lakes team in this bracket, and you talked about it over the weekend. It was Evansville Albany that got screwed quite literally. The number 5 seed, as 8-1 and champions of the Rock Valley Conference, has to go on the road to Fort Atkinson, a 5-4 team out of the Badger South. And I guess with the bracket, it wouldn't have been surprising if they dropped all the way to 4 and hosted that game, but dropping them to 5, it just wasn't right.
Well, it's funny. I got an email from the Fort Atkinson coach, Steve Mahoney, who's a good guy. I've known Steve for a long time, and he said, just so you know, when you go into a seating meeting, you're not allowed to vote for your own team. And he told me that Evansville Albany voted for Jefferson as the 6th seed. Well, Jefferson was 7-2. And, I think the theory was, I think they felt like that would have been a chance for Evansville to play them. And obviously it didn't turn out that way. But, there's a lot of politics involved. You had 4 Badger teams in there with Mount Horeb, Barneveld, Reedsburg, Fort Atkinson, and who's the 4th in there that's from the Badger? Reedsburg, Fort, Monroe, and Mount Horeb, Barneveld. Yeah. Monroe, obviously, with a 1 seed undefeated, I get that. And Pewaukee with a Woodland championship, I get their 3 seed. Mount Horeb, Barneveld with a 2 seed. They weren't a conference champ, but they were a conference runner-up behind Waunakee. But I agree with you. Evansville Albany, to me, it made the regular season meaningless because.
So he was saying though, if they would have voted Jefferson higher, that it might have been.
It might have
things might have flipped around a little bit.
Yes, exactly. So I mean, there's more to it, and like I say, Steve. He's just laying it out there how it is, and that's fine. And I mean, it wasn't, there was no animosity. It was just kind of a little tongue-in-cheek, There's more to the story than meets the eye, but we'll see Friday night. I'm going to get a chance to go over there and watch, and I think it should be an entertaining game. Again, Fort, very physical, and we know what Evansville Albany's capable of. They, kind of like Clinton, have been on a pretty good roll in the last month and a half, last 6 weeks. So I'm looking forward to that game, but I think when you look at that bracket, I don't think there's any reason, nothing against Monroe, but I saw them play against Melton. No reason to think that Evansville Albany can't play with Monroe, because I think they can.
Well, and even Fort last weekend played with Monroe.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had a lot of close games.
Yep.
I don't think the Badger South was... The Badger South was not its usual self.
It wasn't.
This year.
I agree.
I mean,
nope.
Milton wasn't in it, as they have been over the past couple of years. Monona Grove, not the same. I mean, they were pretty darn good, but
right.
They weren't the powerhouse that they have been over the past
Well, and I think
few
more
years.
than anything for Evansville Albany, you don't see Catholic Memorial, and
Yep.
You didn't want to see them in your bracket. So, it's good in the sense that. You got to go on the road and win, but
maybe you get a little chip on your shoulder.
Yeah, exactly. You
To
go in there
playoffs.
and you kind of prove a point, and maybe the same with Fort. Maybe they're tired of hearing about how they didn't deserve the number 4 ranking or the number 4 seed. So I think you're going to see a good, smash mouth, in your face, power football game Friday night in Fort Atkinson, and I'm looking forward to it.
How about 7-seeded Delvin Darien? They've been pretty good this year. A little shakier toward the end of the season, maybe. But another team that, they played in the Southern Lakes. They played a lot of Division I and II teams
They did.
all year. What do you think about them going on the road to
Well,
Mount Horeb?
I just think, like you talked about, the end of the year, I think their defense, kind of let down a little bit. And they were so good for so long, and especially early in the year. And then at the end of the year, they got exposed a little bit. And they're going to have to find it offensively with Benzing and Cesars and those other guys. They're going to have to put points on the board because certainly, going on the road, you've struggled the last couple of weeks. You just got to forget about what's happened at the end of the regular season. Go out and play, and we know that team is capable of winning games and putting points on the board, and you hope that it starts again on Friday night for them.
And they're also never out of a game because we've seen them come back from some pretty
have
dire
some
situations.
Crazy stuff this year, yes.
That's, I guess, the one thing. If they do fall behind, they always know, hey, we're not
still
done.
in it. No.
So. And then you mentioned Badger a little bit to start moving up. Last year they get to the Division II state semifinals. This year, up in Division I, and with all of these Big 8 teams that we've seen throughout the year.
Yep, and teams that they open up with Madison West, who really has one of the premier players in Mr. Carey that you got a chance to see. But Parker just dismantled them last Friday, and Parker, we saw them during the year. They were helter skelter as well. And you look at those other games, Verona and Arrowhead. What a great opening round matchup that is. Arrowhead's 5-4, and I can guarantee you they're the best 5-4 team in the state.
Probably one of the best 6 seeds in the state.
In the state. So not an easy task for Verona, and certainly for Sun Prairie and Middleton. I mean,
I think Badger beats West. I don't think
so
they have
too.
a problem.
Yep.
And then whoever they face between Verona and Arrowhead, I think either one of those games should be another slugfest.
Low scoring, yes. Grind it out. And like I say, I've said all season long, the team to keep an eye on is Sun Prairie. I really have liked Sun Prairie, especially defensively. They've just got some incredible athletes on that team. And, a chance for the Cardinals. Their one loss was the 4 overtimes to Middleton.
Right. That's what I think when I look at this potential like second round matchups.
Yeah.
If Middleton can win at Oconomowoc, you would get that rematch of a 4 overtime game.
Yep.
And then if you had a Badger versus a Verona and Arrowhead, I mean those are two. I mean these are second round games between teams that are pretty darn good.
You may be out of there in about an hour. I mean, if Badger plays Arrowhead, you may be out of there in an hour because it'll just be 900 runs and maybe 2 passes.
We'll see if that. We'll see. If
I like Sun Prairie. I'm going to go with the Cardinals come out of that bracket.
Sounds good. You can let us know what your predictions are, and we can share them on the show.
Sure.
Even though it'll be next.
Why not?
Maybe even if you send them on Saturday after the first round's over, and let us know.
Let us know. You bozos don't know what you're talking about.
Let's shift over to volleyball real quick. Okay. We'll start with Division I here.
And your hot tip.
Well, I was all over Twitter to start this week. Westosha Central, the number 1 seed out of the sectional around here, disqualified from the playoffs for playing too many tournaments. Only allowed to play 7 tournaments during the year, and they somehow scheduled themselves and played 8.
And I wonder, if the Southern Lakes tournament counts as a tournament or how that works.
I don't know the full ramifications behind that, but either way, you got to know how many you're playing. That seems a little crazy. But also, we should mention that as we were filming this, they were going to the WIAA with an appeal. So we don't. Maybe by the time you're reading that or seeing this, they could be back in. So maybe just kind of follow along.
And did we ever figure out why East Troy forfeited on Saturday at the Rock Valley?
Never heard
if that was a similar situation or not. I don't know.
I've never heard the full details on that. But if they're not in it, this makes this bracket a little kind of weird because whoever wins Milton and Kenosha, I think would automatically be in sectionals because I don't think they'll re-bracket this thing. Milton certainly hasn't had the year they had last year, but could find themselves back in sectionals for the second straight year just by winning a home game on Thursday night.
And Wayne Hansen will tell you that, he's got a really strong nucleus of sophomores. And he said, the one thing he said is, I've got these girls for 3 more years. And he said, we got a chance to be pretty special by the time they're done. Well, what a better way than as sophomores to get into the sectional. I don't care how you get there, you're still there. And get in the sectional and give yourselves a chance and get some exposure to playing at that level and at that intensity and build from there. And, certainly you look at Janesville Craig, which a great Big 8 season for the Cougars, 3rd place in the conference tournament, I think 2nd place in the dual standings. Yeah. And, the Cougars, eventually when you're missing a Westosha, it just opens a lot of things up for you because, let's face it, Westosha and Burlington are obviously the cream of the crop in that bracket, but Burlington's in the bottom half. The Cougars are in the upper half, and really, if you eliminate Westosha, the Cougars have just as good a chance as anybody to get to the sectional finals.
Shouldn't you? You would think they'd be licking their chops at this.
I would think
because, I would think that they already have a little chip on their shoulder, thinking they probably deserved the 4 seed and 2 home matches, and they didn't get that. So they're going to have to probably go to Fort Atkinson on Saturday night.
Yep.
Maybe you got a little chip there, and also with now in the back of your mind, if Westosha doesn't get themselves back in the bracket, that you're not that far from a sectional final.
And a shout out too to the Parker girls and Andy Kimball. That team, as young as they are and inexperienced, competed all year. Those kids played hard. They always represented well and
finished a lot higher than their seed.
They did,
at the tournament
and I think
the other day. So
again,
as a 13th seed, I mean, I don't know that I wouldn't find it crazy if they were.
No, I wouldn't either. And like I say, just a credit to them for persevering and sticking with it, and hopefully making that program stronger down the road.
Also, with Julia Hartwig out early, that didn't help.
Nope.
They took some lumps early on, and I think they've kind of come together a little bit here at the end, and we'll see if they can maybe spring an upset.
Yep.
That's Thursday night at Fort Atkinson. Craig, Thursday night hosting Badger, 7 o'clock. And
right.
Milton hosting Kenosha, Bradford, Ryder at 7 o'clock as well. So shifting to Division II, we got that tournament started Tuesday night, so we'll don't exactly have.
There's a lot of yellow in your bracket.
Well, there is. There are all those Rock Valley teams and some Southern Lakes teams there, and that all in the one bracket, which helps. But also, I can't predict what's already done by the time this goes out on the web. So,
but
we're sure
to having somebody in the sectional semifinals.
Right. Well, yeah. You would think it would be East Troy. I think they got their wake up call against McFarland early on. They've been pretty good since then, but. I think it's interesting right from Thursday night. Evansville, I think a team with 2 college players on it,
quality players,
going against East Troy. I mean, I don't think they're going to back down in that matchup. And if the seeding holds true, you've got Bigfoot at Edgerton, which I think could be very intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
Bigfoot, without one of their stars, but still rattled through the Rock Valley South unbeaten, and Edgerton, was right in the thick of the things in the Rock North. And
Schmidt and Oren are, that's a good 1-2 punch at the net. So I would agree. It's going to be competitive, and you're going to see some good volleyball come out of there. And I would say of that group that I've seen, I would say East Troy's probably the best that I've seen of the bunch. But Edgerton took them to 5 sets twice, so I think that's wide open. And like I say, we're guaranteed to have somebody rolling through to the sectional semifinals.
Well, we'll see who that is in Division 3. We've also got a couple teams. Parkview was a 5 seed, and Broadhead a 3 seed. And again, they played Tuesday night, which was after the show aired, or after we taped it, but before it aired. So I think it's a little tricky. But, Broadhead not exactly the power that it maybe has been in the last couple of years, but wouldn't be surprised to see them. They're always very competitive.
I don't think they have Kylie Moe anymore, do they?
Well, they don't. Amber Pickle.
They're missing a few
but
of their studs.
I watched them beat Bigfoot in one game. They lost 3-1 eventually, but they did beat them once. So the only time I think Bigfoot maybe went down.
And Aaron Kammerer does a great job with those girls.
So once they drop down to Division 3, you never know. I think they could give these teams a match, and we'll see if either one of those teams can make a little bit of a run through the Division 3 bracket.
Yep.
We've also got soccer starting Thursday night. Well, it started Tuesday for a couple teams, but mostly Thursday night. Division 1, Craig at Beloit's always going to be interesting no matter what it is.
The
14 against the 3.
Knights had a good year. Again, Craig's got to just, I would think, get the 50-50 balls and control play and not let Beloit get ahead early, because the Cougars aren't really a big scoring power. But defensively, Craig's been pretty good all year. They've lost some matches that were pretty close. And, just keep it close, and maybe, a free kick or a penalty kick or something late gives you a chance. And I think for Parker, kind of just playing out the string. Obviously, you got to go to Middleton, and the Vikes have struggled all season. But, hey, that's why you play the game.
We do have a couple other better shots down here in area teams. That's some of the lower divisions. Certainly looking at a number 2 seeded Elkhorn in their Division 2 bracket, a team that gave Delavan Darien all they could handle when I went and watched them a week ago. And, I like them to kind of make a run here. I think they're probably stung by getting knocked out early last year.
Last year, yeah.
And, it would be kind of a heck of a battle if we saw 2 Elkhorn versus number 1 Oregon in a sectional final a couple of weeks from now.
You wouldn't need a scoreboard, I can tell you that, because there wouldn't be a lot of goals. But, just very 2 defensive-minded teams, and the Elks have, they're capable of shutting anybody down. We saw that with Delavan Darien earlier, and just a team that really prides itself on its defense, and you've got to find a way to attack them, and they'll sit back and not give you many opportunities, so you got to make the most of them. But the Elks certainly are going to make some noise in that bracket, there's no question.
And on the upper side of that, you have a number 5 Milton team, went to state a year ago, and lost quite a bit from that team. But when you have a guy like Scott Biancafiore on your team, you're going to be able to score some goals probably. And they've got this budding. It's hard to call it a rivalry when Oregon's been on the upper hand of it, but they found a way to beat them last year. I'm sure they would love a chance to meet up with them in the sectional final again this year.
And that's all you can ask for. And again, Melton, probably the opposite of Elkhorn. Known more for just the offense and getting goals and maybe turning things up a little bit and making it a high-scoring affair. And that's what they're going to have to do. I mean, Scotty B's going to have to, find a way, and he's certainly capable. He's probably as talented as anybody else in that bracket. So, sometimes one guy can get hot and carry you, and that may have to be the case for the Redhawks.
That's the Division 2. Just 2 Division 2 teams really there that are considered in our coverage area, but 2 that I think could make a little noise here. And then Division 3, we're kind of scattered all over.
We are. We got teams everywhere.
Evansville, a number 3 seed in its bracket, which I think they've had a pretty darn good year, and they go up against Mauston to start. I would think they would win there, and then a lot of these teams we don't see throughout the year.
Don't know much about.
It's really hard.
Kind of go by the rankings and see what they say, but a lot of times the rankings are kind of meaningless just because you're voting for teams in your area and you don't see anybody else play. So it's tough to gauge that sometimes.
We'll see if Evansville can go there, and I think obviously the team that everybody is kind of watching for is Delavan Darien, and a different side of the bracket, which just feels weird considering we were looking at all the other ones and they're all podded together, but not here. The Comets ranked number 1, I think, pretty much throughout the year. You did a little story on them a little while back.
Yep.
They're a team that got knocked out earlier than they expected last year after an unbeaten regular
Too
season.
predictable, their coach said. We got to be too predictable, and he was probably right, and they haven't been predictable this year because they are.
Did they lose to St. Anthony last year?
Whitnall, I think it was.
Whitnall last year.
Whitnall
So
beat 'em.
St. Anthony and Grafton, the teams that have to get by in the sectional semi if they make it there, and then on the bottom half, Shorewood and Catholic Memorial. So I mean, they're always in a tough bracket. It's never an easy Division III bracket for them. It doesn't seem like.
Well, and the problem, not the problem, but I guess the thing to note there is with those private schools, the Catholic Memorials, and that is that, they play that upper level schedule all year with Division I teams, a lot of them. So, that can have an effect as well. And, Delavan's only loss this year was to Stevens Point, a Division I team. So, it tends to be a little bit more physical and maybe some bigger kids at the Division I level. But the Comets are so skilled. It's just a matter of playing their game and just dictating play. And if they can do that, it's going to be tough to beat.
And I think they've won in a variety of ways.
Yes,
Obviously, they've had those matches where they've scored 7, 8, 9, 10 goals, but they've also found ways to win those 1-0 games when defenses have kind of ratcheted up on them and tried to just kind of counter them a little bit.
Yep.
So hopefully, maybe they do have a little more experience now than last year, and they can shift things around if they need to. And we'll see if the Comets can make their run state champions 2 years ago. So they'd like to make it back. That's a lot of high school.
That's a lot of high school stuff there. Yes.
I'm sure we missed somebody, and
we apologize for that too.
Tell us.
Yes.
We got sectional cross country coming up this weekend. Swims around the corner. But we're right in the heart of the postseason here.
We're getting there, yeah. Shout out to Peyton Sippy, the fine Craig junior runner who was a Big 8 conference champion. Very impressive. I think it beat the girl from Sun Prairie that she had never beaten before. So kudos to her, and certainly to Nate Farrell, another great race. And wish all the cross country kids on Saturday best of luck.
Potential for one of those, or maybe both of those Craig teams to even make a state run.
State, yeah. I would think the girls team especially. They really perform well, and they're 4 of the 5 running are freshmen. So I mean that's pretty good.
They're probably gonna be good for a little while.
Yeah,
here,
I would think so.
They have been, but these last couple of years, I think they've maybe missed, and maybe they're getting back.
They're getting back to where they were, and it bodes well for the future, obviously.
We'll have more on that when we find out who's in state after the weekend, and we'll kind of keep you updated on the brackets as we go. We'll be in sectionals by the time we're sitting here next weekend.
We will.
Goes fast once we get here. On the college side of things, UW Whitewater, I guess we'll start there real quick and just say, hey, they
found a way.
Just keep finding a way.
Paul Foster, James LeCraig grad Paul Foster with a big interception return for a touchdown, and
the WIAA Defensive Player of the Week this week. So
they found themselves behind in the fourth quarter or the third quarter and scored the last. I think it was 11 points, and
they've been in a lot of closer games than the past couple of years.
And the
schedule gets easier now.
Much easier now.
But I think when the playoffs roll around, having been in those close games and tight situations, I think that'll help them. So.
Yeah, it may be a Mount Union Whitewater reunion again this year.
That would be just weird.
It would be shocking. Yes,
I wouldn't be able to believe it.
Yeah, and Bucky.
Chances.
Hey,
I think they gave Ohio State a better game than a lot of outsiders thought that they were going to, but it was the second time in 3 weeks where you sit there at the end and go, golly, they really could have won.
They could have won that, and you hate to cry over spilled milk, but I thought a couple of times, especially on Ohio State's last touchdown, T.J. Watt was dragged down. They didn't call that. And, Alex Hornibrook's got to learn to just get rid of the ball. I mean, you can't take a sack. You can't just throw it. I mean, if it's intercepted or
at that point,
away,
nothing matters.
Nothing matters. Just throw the ball.
Lateral it behind you 50 yards. I don't care. At least the play is still
like
alive.
You said about nationwide, I mean, I think they only fell to number 10. So here we sit at 4-2, ranked 10th. But just got to go into Hawkeye and territory Saturday and get a win. And
well, I think that's the thing for me is you've gone through this gauntlet here. Your record's better than people probably thought it would be. You've shown better than people thought you would.
Now don't go out and lay an egg.
Right. Don't go out there and mess up when you've got Iowa and Nebraska. Teams that are good, but they haven't been probably as good as maybe even people thought.
No. Iowa lost to North Dakota State.
You got to go out and take care of business, because if you do and you beat if you win these next 2 games, you're right back in the seat to make it to the Big Ten
championship. And you're probably looking at Ohio State again in the championship game. And, with Beagle back and knowing what we know now, I mean, J.T. Barrett was the best player on the field, and he was a difference at the end. But, I think having Beagle back, it makes Watt a little bit more effective as well, and hopefully he can get him back this week from the foot injury. And
hopefully the carrot there at the end on the stick, kind of as, hey, the Big Ten championship is still out there. Maybe, hopefully that keeps them from,
and just the improvement of the running game and the offensive line, and just seeing Clement, do as well as he did. I know he had the one long run, but really, I thought they ran the ball effectively. We just didn't make enough plays on third down, and
a little too predictable. You put the jumbo package in, you know it's going to be a dive.
Yeah,
it went for 1 yard every time. You got to leave those receivers on the field a little bit, and at least make them even if they're a decoy.
But again, the defense was dynamite, and we lost in overtime to what's probably the second best team in the country. I think Alabama's just head and shoulders above everybody else, but. A good showing. I'm not big into moral victories, but I don't think it hurt us too much if we bounce back and continue to win.
No setbacks.
If we lose to Iowa Saturday, then all bets are off, and hello Peach Bowl or whatever. I mean, that's what we're looking at.
We have to rewind the tape a little bit here, but it was 3 or 4 weeks ago. You said Aaron Rodgers was just fine.
He wasn't fine the other night. Was he on the field? I wasn't sure. And it's. McCarthy blasted the media last week for asking him about offense and the play calling and that. Well, Mike, Sunday was a great indication of what people are complaining about. That offense is so vanilla right now. Run, pass, punt. Run, pass, punt. You don't go and sign another running back. Lacey's hobbled. You got to bring in Ty Montgomery to run the ball. They made a trade today for Niles Davis from Kansas City, which, he's not going to be able to step in. It's 2 days away from a game.
Might have to.
And he might have to. But, just... Rodgers doesn't look the same. The receivers aren't getting open. When they are open, they're not connecting, and it's a struggle right now. And Dallas, let's face it, that Green Bay defense had no answer for Ezekiel Elliott or Prescott. I mean, they did what they wanted. Elliott had over 150 yards rushing, and Prescott made play with his arms and his legs, and it's just. That Green Bay team has got some issues, and I think they'll get well Thursday night against the Bears because the Bears are terrible. But
what if they don't?
I mean, we thought they were okay when they handled the Lions pretty easily, and then they came back and didn't play well against the Giants, but beat them. But then last Sunday, I mean, not only were they beaten, they were beaten soundly. I mean, that game wasn't close. I mean, it was just not a good performance. Rodgers a couple interceptions, a fumble on the 2-yard line when. Why is he even running the ball? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And
the Rodgers freakout is officially back on.
Yeah, and they got to get that squared around. And again,
they also might need you to play cornerback. They might. Are you available?
I am available. Okay. Yes, I'll play the bump and run. Yes, I'll bump and then somebody else run after the guy that's running past me. But no, I mean, let's face it. If they falter Thursday night, then. Boy, that bandwagon's about to get real empty. But I think they'll be all right. If they win,
is there a button around here?
Yeah. If they win, they'll be 4-2, and Minnesota's got to go to Philadelphia. I mean, I still think Green Bay's a playoff team, but some things got to be. They got to take care of some things first, and it starts with that offense, and it starts with the quarterback.
Panic mode. We're getting close. I don't know if we're quite there yet.
I think
Bears loss would be a full-fledged. I would think.
Well, that would be awful. Yes.
Thursday night football this week.
Thursday night football.
Don't forget to tune in for that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not out at some volleyball matches.
Right. Which I will be. Which it's probably more entertaining.
I guess you won't be playing cornerback then.
More entertaining, but that's all right.
Let us know if you're panicking on the Packers. What your high school playoff predictions are.
If you
think the Badgers are going to be in the
Big Ten title, are going to be okay now, even though they. Anthony Rizzo's 1 for 70 in the playoffs, and they're not hitting, but Clayton Kershaw's ridiculous.
Let's see. We might have a World Series preview here by next weekend.
Yeah, I think so. It's like Cleveland's going to be there. It's just a matter of the Cubs or the Dodgers. I still think it's going to be the Cubs, but time will tell.
We'll share your predictions on the show if you throw them our way, or any other comments at sports@gazetteextra.com, or leave a comment at gazetteextra.com, or on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, any and all of the above.
Yes.
If you send it to all of them, I don't think we'll read it 5 times, but at this point, we might.
We might. We don't know. Depends how bored we are.
We'll see where we're at here. Sectionals next week. We'll have state cross country lined up. World Series. We'll know
everything.
We'll know if the Packers are. If their hair's all on fire.
I think we'll have a WNBA champion by then.
That's
too.
true.
The Lynx and Sparks are going to wrap it up Thursday
night.
Yeah.
You can break that down for us next week.
Yeah, I will.
So, Bear will be back here with your WNBA insight next week. Join us then. We'll see you later.
Take care, everybody. Go Bucky.